It's time to do a guitar lesson. Complete electric guitar. How you guys doing? So. Alright, so I can't call this lesson Total Electric Guitar because Eric Johnson already has that title of his instruction video in 1990. So I'll call it Complete Electric Guitar. Okay, so I'm gonna Tipping tells me to start with my own musical progress as I played guitar and what I learned. And we'll walk you through the steps of that, and in the meantime show you what it led to and what I can do now, because whatever. So first of all, when I first picked up a guitar, well, when I was 15, my dad and my uncle Don Packwood, a really good dude. He raised him and my uncle Don Packwood and my grandpa Rex McAllen Wiseman actually raised me practically. Anyway, while my dad was hitting me, they were raising me. So my dad and my uncle Don got me a guitar when I was 15, just an acoustic guitar set in the back of a car, and I just sat there with it on my lap or my whatever for 2 hours or so. Everybody was shopping at Montclair Plaza, and suddenly one word went from the back of my brain to the front of my brain, just one word: play, and I never stopped. So I took lessons. I started taking lessons. I actually got lessons from 4 people. One of them actually was paid. The other 3 just liked me and thought I had potential, so they just taught me for free. But one of the first things I did, one of the first things that was hard to do was just barring across all the strings with one finger. So you wouldn't believe how hard that is when you've never barred a fret in your life. And to bar all the frets across with one finger, you know. It's the basis of all chording, because from there you can make a minor, a major, sus4. You know, that's a good start if you can just bar things. And then I started playing with fingers for licks, but I didn't use my pinky, which was a big mistake, but that's how I started, just doing blues, licks, pentatonic and stuff. There, I used my little finger there, but you know what I mean. And mostly bluesy stuff, bending notes, you bend with all 3 fingers together. You don't bend with one finger by itself. It just doesn't push the string enough. You put 3 fingers down and pull with all 3 fingers. Or if you're doing it with the pinky, all 4. And I just learned the pentatonic. There's 5 positions. And that's 2 notes per string type of thing, you know. And I got good at that. But I didn't know how to pick. I did all downstrokes. I always did downstrokes only. Well, there I did upstrokes there, but you know, it was all downstrokes and a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs type of thing to get me going when I couldn't do an upstroke because I didn't really know how to do upstrokes or alternate picking yet. And then came the big bomb when I'd been playing a year. So it was like I was 16. It was like 1983, and my teacher brought out Eruption by Eddie Van Halen. Holy crap. It was do or die at that point. Either I was going to learn how to tap or I was going to quit guitar. And sure enough, I did not quit guitar. I learned how to tap. But I only used my first finger for tapping, you know. And that turned out to be a mistake because later on when I learned to pick, I used my second and third fingers to tap. So, but whatever. At least I was tapping. At least I did Eruption. I did a recital when I was 16 years old of Eruption in Spanish Fly. And except for this colossal guitar dude that came on after me, I knocked the show out. You know, and all the other kids have been playing like 7-8 years. I've been playing 1 year, and I just blew them all away with my eruption of Spanish fly. No other kid was even on that level at all. They were just doing every breath she takes by the police and shit like that, you know. Let's feel better. They're doing that kind of stuff, and I'm up there going, you know. So I was like showing promise, and at that gig, recital DJ, who is now my mentor, said afterward, he said, "Dude, you were blowing." That's a jazz term from playing really good. And my youth minister that I hated in my church came and actually gave me a smile. He actually, my Sunday school teacher that hated me and I hated him actually came to that recital and smiled at me like he thought, well, you do something right, Jimmy, LOL. But then came my next big change was in 1995, 30 years ago, when I learned alternate picking. It's a weird story. I just went to sleep and dreamt something. I don't know what my dream was exactly, but when I woke up, I said I picked up a guitar and I could just alternate pick. I learned it in a dream, but I don't even know I don't know how. But one night I just woke up and said, "Give me a guitar. I got to try something." And sure enough, I started alternate picking. And alternate picking is a challenge because there's two different techniques of it. You can do it with just one note, like eruption. Or you can do it where one note per note, and you play different notes. So I like the time. Both are good, of course, but the hardest one, of course, is the one with the note per pick. But they're both good, you know. It's important to know both, and they're both alternate picking. And the next thing that came too with that was how to go from string to string. You know, that no one ever explained that to me, and I didn't really ever figure it out until I just worked out my own system. There's two different ways. There's the economy technique, and then there's a strict alternate picking technique. So with economy, you always do down down or up up when you're crossing strings. You go like, it would be like this. Especially for even numbers of notes per string, it's easier to do that. So when you go yeah, you're doing down or up. It could be up, down, up, down, up, down. That was actually an up there. So you're starting when you go to the next string, you start with the same stroke as you started with on the other string. So you can just sweep. It's like little mini sweeps to go from string to string. But then the next thing I did was I figured, well, if I can alternate pick, I want to do other scales other than just pentatonics. So I learned my major scales and my harmonic minor scales. And then the next thing you know, I'm shredding, and then a lot of those use what's called 3 notes per string, where you have an odd number of notes per string if you play the scale right through, and then you have a problem. You can cheat and go down. You can still kind of cheat with it, but you're not doing alternate picking anymore, because when you go to the next string, you're using the same stroke, and it comes off sounding different than if you do it right, like Paul Gilbert always taught. You have to cross strings with either outside the string or inside the string. See here if I go down up, down, I'm actually going around the string. I'm going down up. I'm outside the strings when I go from string to string. Whereas if I do it the other way, up, down, 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 I'm inside the string. And not only is that different, which is hard, but you have to change it every other time it's the one, and every other time it's the other, so it alternates. It changes. Down, up, down, up. That's outside the string. Then down, up, down. That's inside the string. Then up, down, up. Wait. Down, up, down. Now up, outside the string. Up, down, up. Now inside the string with down, up, down. Now outside the string with up, down, up. Inside the string with down, up, down. Outside the string with up, down, up. So every other time you're outside when you cross strings, and every other time you're inside the string. And it alternates forever as you do that. And that's really hard because it changes up. It changes every time. Plus, it's harder to go out and in than it is to just sweep up, sweep down, or sweep up. And I like that sound of the strict alternate picking. Always do it perfectly, like I'm not a machine, but it sounds good when I try to, and the more I do it right, the better it sounds in my book. And it's good for little licks, like just 2-string licks. That's a lick Paul Gilbert taught. Well, it's not the exact notes, but it's this idea of the same, the technique. It's down, up, 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 down. That outside the string thing. And I like that sound. You can't get that if you just do this down, down. It doesn't sound the same. And then move it around. And if you can get that under your belt, that's one of the hardest things to do in all of guitar playing. So if you can do that, you can do anything. That's like New York of guitar playing. If you can do that, you can do anything else, technically. I love Paul Gilbert for teaching us that. He did it like this. And that's a cool lick. That way you're alternating between one note on the high string and 3 notes on the high string. But it's still the same idea. It's still down. It's outside the string when you change the string. When you change strings. Stop me, as Jim, what was his name? What does he do that? Jim Carrey would always say that. Somebody stop me. Well, that's hairy stuff there, and it's really hard to. You're doing the 4-note and 6-note patterns in alternation. And you're going up and down the patterns with it all the way up and down the neck, which is really hard to do all that. If you can do all that, then stop watching. You don't need this lesson, LOL. guitar playing doesn't get harder than that. If you can do that, then just graduate yourself. But anyway, there's that. And then the next challenge came when I had two challenges after that. First of all, do other types of picking other than alternate picking. The thing I discovered was sweep picking. And the next thing I discovered was that I hold my pick with the first finger and the thumb, so that the tapping had to change to second finger and third finger. And then the third thing, there was actually three things that happened. First of all, I had to also add sweep picking. Then the second thing is I had to learn to tap with my second and third fingers instead of my first finger. And the third thing is I had to learn to use all four fingers of the left hand, not just three. So even if I'm doing three notes per string, it's still better to use all four fingers than to use just the first three. It's a different sound. The little finger has a different vibe. Eric Johnson said that. There's a different vibe with the little finger. You can't get that vibe with any other finger. It doesn't sound the same. The little finger has a different sound. It has that teeny little hummingbird. You can't get that with the other finger. It's really important to use all four fingers. So three things had to happen: sweep picking, tapping with the second and third fingers of the right hand, and using all four fingers of the left hand. And that took up 30 years just to get all that down. I learned how to pick alternate pick in 1995. This is 2025. 30 years later, I finally have it all. I basically have it all down. That's why I'm calling this complete electric guitar. So which of those three would you like to do first? Let's do the tapping first for some reason. So the tapping was fine, but I had to tap with these fingers. I can't tap with the first finger if I'm holding my pick. And Paul Gilbert does it where he holds a pick and then switches and then taps with the first finger. I can't do that. I'll drop the pick every time. It's too much manipulation with the hand. And other people, and then Eddie Van Halen, he would actually hold the pick between the second finger, middle finger, and the thumb, and then tap with the first finger. But he's Eddie Van Halen. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. He invented it. He gets to do that, but only nobody else gets to do that. That's just Eddie's thing. So what I had to do was I hold the pick with my first finger and thumb, and then I tap with first my second finger. Oh yeah, I'm gonna flip you off, and then I added the third finger. I got that idea from Steve Vai. That's how he taps. But I don't really use my pinky because it's just not strong enough of a finger. And it's not really necessary. So, but I didn't stop with just tapping with the second finger. I wanted two fingers for tapping. It sounds different, and you can do more with it. Watch this. So if I use the second finger for tapping, that's great. But then when you go from string to string, it's hard to do if I only use one finger. That finger is jumping around, so it's good to use two fingers and alternate the fingers as you cross strings when you tap. It sounds smoother, and plus it varies it because the third finger gets a different sound than the second finger. Here's the second finger, third finger. So it's a different sound. Plus it's easier to go from string to string if you have two fingers to tap with instead of just one, so it doesn't have to jump hard. It's hard to do. It's also more fun to tap with two fingers. It's just more fun for me, than just one finger gets boring. So that was the tapping part. And then the other part was the sweep picking I had to learn. That's mainly for arpeggios. I mean, I don't see people sweeping scales too much. It's mainly for arpeggios. See, it's major arpeggios. Sweeping is a lot of fun. Plus, nothing else sounds like sweeping. I know Paul Gilbert likes to do the string skipping for arpeggios. But I don't. I mean, that's nice sounding, but the sweeping sounds better to me, and it's also more technically officially correct to me, but whatever. I like that sound better than trying to jump across the strings like Paul does. I like sweeping myself. I myself like the sweep pick. And there's down. So of course, when you go, sweeping is down, all downs as you go, as you ascend. So that's funny because you're downstroking, but yet you're going up in pitch, or you upstroke while you're going down in pitch. The opposite direction of the pick is the way you're actually moving as far as the sound going ascending or descending. But make sure you don't make it like too much like a chord. Like don't let the notes bleed into one another. Just play one note and then make sure they don't sound like you're just playing like a chord. You know, make sure you don't just play a chord. Make it one note at a time. Anyway, so then there's that, and then another struggle was doing all four fingers of the left hand, and that was really hard. Let me go into this, but first of all, it's good to do that. Now, there's a thing called factorial in math. The number of ways of order a certain number of elements of n number of elements is n factorial, and n factorial is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times cut it up into the n. So 1 factorial is 1, 2 factorial is 1 times 2, which is 2, 3 factorial is 1 times 2 times 3, which is 6, and 4 factorial is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4, which is 24. With 4 fingers, you have actually 4 factorial ways of ordering them, and that's 4 factorial is 24. There's 24 ways to order playing all 4 fingers, and you have to get your head around that, and then be able to, and then actually be able to do it physically too, which is really hard. I just did that like a month ago. I just learned this myself. So there's 24 different ways. Let me go over them with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 3, 1, 4, 3, 2. That's 6 of them. 2, 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1. That's another 6 of them. 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2. 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1. That's another 6. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's another 6. That's all 24 ways of ordering the 4 fingers. And you have to get your head around that, or otherwise you're still going to be thinking like a 3-finger player and just substituting whatever finger for another one. We really have 4 independent fingers. You have to get your head around the 4 factorial, which is 24 ways of ordering 4 notes, 4 fingers, not 4 notes, 4 fingers. And then you're free. Then you can do 4. Then you can do 4 notes per string if you wanted to. And independent, all independent, each finger totally independent of the other one, which is cool. I often do it with 4 notes per string where it doesn't sound diatonic anymore, because diatonic scales are 3 notes per string. But if you do more than 4 notes, if you do more than 3 notes per string, you're not doing diatonic scales anymore. You're doing like weird shit like chromatics. You're using all 12 notes of the chromatic scale. And that's another thing I do now. I started this about a couple months ago. Well, I did it a long time ago, actually, like a couple of years ago. But I didn't have the theory. I didn't have the technique to do it because my fingers weren't up to the challenge. I knew how to do it note-wise, but I needed the technique to follow. Now I can do both, the technique and the 12-note thing. What you do is you play all the notes you want. All 12 notes are possible, but you don't have to. Once you hit a note, you don't have to play all the other 11 before you play that one again. It's not a 12-tone row. It's not serial composition, but it's also not tonal in the fact that you're playing all 12 notes. And so what I do with it is I make sure I don't play any one scale for very long, or that I switch playing scales all the time. Or I played or whatever, don't play any one scale very long, and when you do play a scale, go to something else, and don't just play in one scale and one key or one mode and make it tonal. You have to switch it around constantly, and I like that sound and I like that way of playing, like. I like that. I just told a friend of mine. He just called me, and he's helping me with my equipment, my recording process. He's teaching me something called IR, impulse resonance. But he was telling me how he likes that aspect of my playing when I play all 12 notes. I told him if there was a tape going into space, Eddie, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI. If you had to send a tape of me playing to outer space so that alien would find it, and I only had 15 seconds to play or whatever, it would be that kind of playing. I wouldn't just play a scale that everyone else is doing. I would play one of my 12-note type. I would do it a 12 notes type lick for that cause, because I would want the alien, if they find it, to hear that, not just me doing a Dorian mode. And we both agreed and laughed kind of. It's funny because they're not asking me to make the tape, and they're not really. Right now, I'm not sure if SETI is successfully finding any aliens, but whatever, you get the point, I think. In fact, the guy that was talking to me, the friend I was telling you about, said he learned Alan Holdsworth, or found Alan Holdsworth, because of me. He heard me doing it. And quoting Alan Holdsworth as my main mentor, and then he looked up Alan Holdsworth and found Alan Holdsworth through me, which I thought, wow, that's an honor to me. Somebody learned about Alan Holdsworth from JIMMIE WISEMAN, not vice versa. Oh man, that was actually touching to me. I thought that was cool. That he heard about Alan because of me. So way to go, Alan. We'll both of us will be famous again someday. LOL. No, you're already famous, Alan. I just want to catch up to you. Okay, how am I going to reach your level? But I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'll get there. Anyway, so that's where I am today. And then there's other things about technique besides what I'm talking about. There's like Steve Vai said that making little noises and beeps is important in your guitar playing too. Like artificial harmonic. Natural harmonic. I'm using higher harmonics between the little frets. There's one at the 5th fret, 4th fret, 3.25, 2.66. And 2.2. Maybe it's 2.3. It's 2.3. $2.66, 3.25, no, 3.2, 4, and 5. So it's all this little harmonics. 3.2. 2.66, 2.2, 2.3. Oh, this is 3.25, 4, and 5. So the little harmonics there are good to have, and the third string is really good for harmonics. The others are good too. The second is good too. The second string's good. Fourth string is good too. And then using the whammy bar with it. And then making little motions with the whammy bar. You know, just work on it. Szechuan, he does a thing where he does it over the neck, hand over hand. He does this, but I don't know. That's his thing. Let him have that. He actually does a harmonic like this. He goes, I'll break strings if I start doing that shit. It's stay in your lane, Jimmy. It's above my pay grade. and then there's just legato, where you don't pick at all. How did I forget that? The trick with legato is to keep things from ringing out that you don't want to ring out, and it's even harder when you're holding the monkey grip because you have no other hand to do it with. And if you use the right hand on the board, it's easier because you can mute the right hand or the left, all adjacent fingers, adjacent strings. And some people like Joe Satriani, he'll pick once in a while. I don't like that. That's Joe. He does that. But I like to just have no picking when I do legato. Oh, without the grip. Anyway, I like that sound. And then there's tricks like playing behind your head and doing this, like I do this now. Or just trick up guitar against somebody's hand. Or there's what are you playing over the neck? Alternating over the neck. Over the neck with tapping. Just anything you can think of to be creative, different than the next guy. And don't use AI. That's a rhyme. LOL. Anything else while I'm here? Bending is important. You can bend strings and you can vibrate the strings. There's actually a difference there. Bending is just... Vibrating is... this is bending. Vibrating is... Bending and vibrating is... So there's two kinds of bending. There's bending that's you just straight bend. And there's the vibrato. Or bending with vibrato. That's not easy. You use your whole hand, and you don't just use the finger. It's the whole hand, like Eric Clapton would say. He got his whole fulcrum in his hand, and Eric Johnson talked about Eric Clapton doing that. And in fact, when I learned how to do vibrato, I was like, it almost depressed me because it's a very bluesy type of sound, and when I dug into the soul of vibrato, I had the blues really bad for like 3 months. It was like I was like in a cloud or fog or in the rain or something in my head for about 3 months, just because I'd learned how to bend. I learned vibrato, and I paid for it by kind of having the blues for a month or 3 months. It affected me. It made me feel blue for like 3 months. It was like crazy. Get this shit out of me. And after 3 months, I was okay again. But anything else? This is mainly a technique video. If you want to know how to play scales, and look them up. Use your tabs if you use them. Look up, get books. Look up, Google it, search it, how to play these scales and what they all are. You don't need me for that right now. I'll go into that later, and when I do other instruction videos, I talk about that. But if I start talking about scales, we'll never go home. So I'm doing mainly technique, and that's what Eric did in his total electric guitar. Mine is complete electric guitar. Eric's is total electric guitar. He didn't really go into scales that much. He just let that go. But he talked about the technique. There's actually so many things in music. There's technique. There's theory. There's ear training. There's lyric writing, there's singing, there's there's did I say rhythm? There's rhythm playing and also the rhythmic element of music, rhythm timing. There's songwriting. There's creativity involved. There's playing from the heart. There's songwriting. There's doing good covers, feeling the note, feeling the emotion of the song. There's performance involved, because if you fuck it up, well, who cares who you are? If you fuck up the song, you're not doing the music right. So you have to play it. You have to perform it right. You got to do it on stage. So sometimes you have to look decent, dress the way you want to look a certain way. And then there's your attitude, your groove, your vibe, how you look on stage, whether you smile and all that, and how you look at the camera and play with the crowd, like entertain the crowd, interact with the crowd. I mean, if you want to play music, just don't. There's so much crap to do, but yet I did it, or do it, and I enjoy it. It's what I do. But after having done all that, don't get in it unless you really mean it. Unless you really feel that you want to do this, and it's something tells you you're going to do this. Like Mr. Miyagi said to Danielson in Karate Kid, he said, either karate yes or karate no. Karate guess so. Don't do it halfway. Don't do it. Don't. I guess I play guitar. You're wasting your time. Either you play, and you're going to do, or you don't play and forget this lesson and forget playing. In the middle is crazy. You're going to waste your time, quit, and go do something else, and you're going to wish you hadn't done it. Time is important. We only have so much in this life. I spent an inordinate amount of my time in my life on playing, but that's me, and and I'm not saying to anyone else to do that. It was when the first word went through the back of my brain to the front of my brain, and when I was 15, in the back of the car, it said play, and I knew that was it for me. But I'm not telling you not to play. It's not my business. But if you really want to do it, do it. And if you're not, then don't really do it. Anyway, I love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.